She heard dragging sounds, slow, heavy, like someone pulling a body, and they were coming from the apartment above. Leela froze mid-step, her bare feet pressed into the icy floorboards of her new studio flat. The clock on the wall read 3:17 a.m. She hadn't even fully unpacked yet, just moved in yesterday after her divorce, but the sound above was unmistakable. It wasn't furniture, it wasn't plumbing, it was something being dragged, something heavy. The ceiling creaked again, a long, drawn-out screech like nails across a coffin lid. Then silence. She backed away from the window, pulling her cardigan tighter around her. A voice inside her whispered, "Don't look," but curiosity always betrayed her. Carefully, she reached for the old step stool left by the last tenant and climbed, just high enough to peer through the tiny top pane that gave a partial view of the balcony above. There was nothing, until the porch light flickered. For a brief second, she saw a figure, a man, tall, thin, pale, bare-chested, covered in blood. She gasped. Her foot slipped from the stool. She crashed to the ground and smacked her head on the heater. Her vision blurred. When she woke up, it was light out, birds chirping, traffic humming, the world back to normal. She checked her phone. 7:42 a.m. 4 missed calls from her sister. A text. "Are you okay? Did you make it in safe?" Layla replied with shaky fingers. "Yeah, weird night. We'll call later." The landlord, Mr. DeCosta, was already in the hallway when she stepped out. Late 50s, mild-mannered, lived downstairs with his wife. He greeted her with his usual smile, but there was tension behind it. "I hope everything was fine last night," he said. She nodded, trying to sound casual. "Yeah, I'm just curious, who lives in the unit above me?" His smile faltered. "It's empty." She stared. "Empty? Are you sure?" "Yes. It's been vacant for months." "Why?" Leela blinked. "I thought I heard noises, dragging, maybe even someone on the balcony." Mr. DeCosta gave her a polite, nervous chuckle. "This old place makes sounds, trust me. Pipes, heaters, wind. You'll get used to it." He walked off before she could press further. Later that day, she bumped into one of the other tenants, an older woman named Ms. Harrow in 3C. The type who always wore slippers and had too many cats. Leela decided to ask her too. "Hey, do you know if anyone used to live above me?" 4B. The woman's face went pale. Her lips pinched into a line. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Don't go near that unit." "What do you mean?" "There was a girl, student, moved in maybe a year ago. Kept to herself. No friends, no family. One night, she just disappeared. Cops came, nothing found. No forced entry, no evidence. But people heard things, heard her screaming." Leela's skin went cold. "What happened?" she asked. "No one knows. The landlord said she moved out, but no one saw her leave. And the next tenant after her, same thing. Gone. 2 weeks in, vanished. Police called it coincidence. But after that, DeCosta stopped renting it out. Why didn't you say anything sooner?" The woman's eyes darkened. People don't listen when it's just the old lady talking. That night, Layla couldn't sleep. Every sound made, her heart raced, and at 3:09 a.m., the dragging started again. She jumped up and ran to her phone, this time ready. She turned on the voice recorder. The sounds grew louder. Something scraped right above her bed. She pressed record, then a single knock on the ceiling. She screamed. It knocked again, and again, then stopped. Shaking, she played back the recording. The file had saved, but when she hit play, silence, not a single sound. The next day, she demanded the keys to 4B from Mr. DeCosta. He refused, at first. "That's not allowed." She didn't back down. "Either you open that door, or I'm calling the police and telling them everything I heard." He stared at her for a long time, then sighed. "Fine, but I'm going with you." They walked up the creaky stairwell together. The hallway leading to 4B was colder than the rest of the building. The door hadn't been opened in months when the landlord slid the key into the lock. Something groaned from inside. The door opened. The room was empty, dust-coated, air-stale and sour. Nothing on the floor. No blood, no furniture, just a strange smell, like metal and mildew. Leela wandered in, checking every corner, and then she saw it etched into the wooden floor, faint but still visible. "He stands over me at night." She froze. "Do you see that?" Mr. DaCosta didn't respond. She turned around, found herself alone. He was gone. Leela ran down the stairs, out of the building, all the way to the coffee shop 2 blocks away, where she called her sister and begged her to come. 3 days later, her sister Emma showed up from out of town. Leela refused to stay in the apartment alone, so they got a cheap motel nearby. On the 3rd night, Leela finally convinced Emma to come back with Hurt to gather her stuff and end the lease. They walked in around 6 p.m. It was quiet, normal. Then, they found the photo. A single Polaroid, taped to the inside of the fridge door. It showed Leela sleeping in her bed, and in the corner of the frame, a shadowy figure standing by her closet. Emma gasped. Leela collapsed to the floor. They left that night, never went back. Later, the police inspected the building. They found nothing in 4B. No evidence, no body, no fingerprints. But they did find something in the walls between the units, a series of narrow crawl spaces big, enough for someone to move between apartments without being seen. Inside those crawl spaces, they discovered 6 other Polaroids, each of a different tenant, all sleeping, all unaware. The last one was dated 2 days before Layla moved in. To this day, the unit above hers remains sealed, but some nights, tenants still hear the dragging, and no one knows who or what is in the walls. Jenna didn't sleep, not after what she saw. She just sat on the living room floor, gripping the blood-stained note she'd found in her sister's room, the one that ended with, "Don't trust anything in the mirror." Outside, the wind howled across the pine trees surrounding the family cabin. Inside, the air felt tighter, like the house itself was holding its breath. She hadn't told her mother yet. How could she? Emily was gone, dead. That truth still hadn't landed. And now this. A warning in her handwriting, written after she died. Her hands trembled as she opened her phone. The last text Emily had sent just hours before the crash was still there. "If anything happens to me, go to the cabin, and don't look into the guest room mirror at night." Jenna had assumed it was a weird joke. Emily was always dramatic, always into crystals and energy and mirrors facing beds. But now it felt like a scream from the grave. She stood slowly, her knees aching from sitting so long on the hardwood floor. The silence in the cabin stretched like elastic, tight and ready to snap. She walked down the hallway. The guest room door was ajar. She hadn't touched it since she arrived. She didn't even want to be here. But after Emily's funeral, she couldn't stop hearing that last message. Couldn't shake the feeling something wasn't right now. Standing in the hallway, Jenna stared at the door like it might blink. The mirror inside was an antique oval-shaped, gold-trimmed and bolted to the wall across from the bed. It had always made her uneasy. Emily had told her once, some mirrors aren't for reflection, they're for watching. Jenna hadn't laughed then, and she sure as hell wasn't laughing now. She pushed the door open. The room was dark, except for the moonlight pouring in through the window. The mirror caught it like a pool of silver. For a moment, it looked normal, just her reflection, pale and shaken. Then she saw it. A flickered knot in the mirror. Behind her, she spun, heart slamming against her ribs. Nothing, but when she looked back at the mirror, the reflection hadn't moved. Her own image was still standing, facing the wall, but she was now facing the mirror. Her blood ran cold. That wasn't her reflection. It blinked slowly, then smiled. She stumbled back, hitting the wall, her hand instinctively reaching for the door frame. The image in the mirror turned its head, eyes locking with hers. It mouthed a word. Run. Jenna bolted down the hall, past the kitchen, out the front door, barefoot in the snow. She didn't stop until she reached the car and locked herself inside, gasping for breath. From the window, she could still see the guest room, the mirror, and something, standing inside it, watching. She stayed in a motel that night. The next morning, Jenna went straight to the county library. She didn't believe in ghosts. Not really. But she believed in Emily, and if Emily left that warning, Jenna had to know why. The librarian was a woman in her 60s, with tired eyes and nicotine-stained fingers. When Jenna explained the address of the cabin, the woman's face tightened. That place used to be a boarding house, decades ago, she said, way before your family bought it. Any incidents? Jenna asked. The librarian pulled out an old binder. 1974, woman named Margaret Voss rented a room there. Claimed the mirror in her room showed things she hadn't done yet. Horrible things. Jenna leaned forward. What happened to her? She burned the place down, the woman said. Or tried to. Got arrested before it caught. Said she saw herself killing people in that mirror. Said it showed her what she'd become. Jenna swallowed. Her hands were shaking again. You said her name was Margaret Voss. The librarian nodded. Yeah. Jenna opened her phone and pulled up Emily's final note again. Her stomach dropped. The back of the note had something else scrawled on it in faint pencil. Voss was right. It doesn't show the future. It creates it. Back at the cabin later that day, Jenna packed up everything. She wasn't going to stay another night. But before leaving, she did one last thing. She walked into the guest room, faced the mirror, and whispered, "Why her? Why Emily?" The mirror didn't answer, but her reflection did. It moved without her. The reflected version of Jenna leaned closer to the glass and whispered back, lips curling into something cruel and knowing, "Because she tried to break me." Then the glass cracked. Right down the middle. The crack in the mirror hadn't disappeared. Jenna stared at it the next morning, a jagged vein running straight down her reflection's face. Her own expression looked hollow now, not just from fear, from realization. Emily had known. She'd tried to stop it, tried to warn her. The texts, the note, even the crash. It wasn't just a tragedy. It was connected. And now, the mirror, or whatever lived behind it, had said something she couldn't ignore. Because she tried to break me, Emily had fought back, and she'd died for it. Jenna sat outside the cabin that afternoon, wrapped in a blanket, her eyes locked on the pines as wind stirred through their tops. Her phone buzzed, a voicemail from an unknown number. She pressed play, at first only static, then a whisper. "Jenna, it's me, ... It's not over. You need to look inside the fireplace." Her chest tightened. It was Emily's voice. She hadn't heard it since the funeral, and never like this, distant, faded, but clear enough to chill her spine. She sprinted back inside, dropping to her knees in front of the stone fireplace. She reached behind the soot-covered bricks, her fingers brushing something stiff, flat. A journal, burned on one side, smudged with ash. It was Emily's. She opened it slowly, pages stiff from water damage and smoke. June 3rd, I don't think I'm alone in the mirror anymore. June 10th, it mimics me, but it's learning. I caught it smiling when I wasn't. That's when I knew it's not just reflecting, it's studying. June 14th, I dreamt Jenna came to the cabin, looked into the mirror, and never came out. She just stood there while the version of her inside walked away, wearing her face. June 21st, if I die before I destroy it, maybe Jenna will listen. Maybe she'll finish what I couldn't. Jenna's hands trembled, her throat burned with grief, rage, and something else she wasn't ready to name yet, guilt, because she had ignored Emily for months. treated her like she was just spiraling again, dismissing every plea for help as drama. And now, Emily was dead. No, murdered by something no one would believe existed. That night, Jenna made a decision. She wouldn't run. She would face it. The mirror wasn't just haunted. It was hungry, and it wanted her the same way it had wanted Emily. She set up a camera on a tripod, aimed directly at the mirror. Then she stood in front of it and waited. At first, everything was still, her reflection perfectly matching her every move. But as the clock struck 3:17 a.m., something changed. The room felt colder. Her reflection blinked, but Jenna hadn't. She took a slow step back. Her reflection stayed still. Then it smiled and reached out toward the inside of the glass, pressing its palm to the mirror from the other side. The lights flickered. The camera began glitching, and suddenly, Jenna saw a flash of movement. In the corner of the mirror, a woman, Emily, standing just behind the glass version of herself, screaming silently, pounding on the other side. "No," Jenna whispered, eyes wide with horror. She pressed her own hand to the glass, and the reflection whispered something, not with sound, but inside her head. "If you want the truth, come get it." Jenna woke up on the floor. The mirror was gone, or, more accurately, it had shattered 1,000 pieces scattered across the room. The camera was smoking, useless, the footage erased. She stood, dazed, ears ringing. Her reflection was no longer trapped. It was gone, so where was it now? Later that day, Jenna drove to the hospital where Emily had been taken after the crash. There was something Emily had once said, something Jenna hadn't understood at the time. Sometimes the truth is locked inside the last place anyone checks. And Jenna remembered something strange. A nurse at the funeral had mentioned that Emily had briefly regained consciousness before she died. Jenna had assumed it was a mistake, but now she tracked down that nurse, a woman named Rosa, outside the ER. "I just need to know," Jenna said, voice raw. "Did Emily say anything? Anything at all?" Rosa frowned. "She said one thing, right before we sedated her. I remember because it gave me chills." "What was it?" Rosa looked her dead in the eye. "It's not me in the mirror anymore." Jenna barely made it back to the car before her legs gave out. Emily hadn't been hallucinating. She'd been warning her, but if Emily's reflection had replaced her, even for a moment, then Jenna had to ask the unthinkable question. Was it really Emily who died in that crash? Or was it the mirror's version of her, the one trying to escape? Jenna looked at her hands. Her reflection in the car mirror, same face, same eyes. But something in her gut twisted. She wasn't sure anymore. And then, her phone lit up with a text. "Unknown number, you've almost figured it out, but you're too late. I'm already out." Her heart stopped, not because of the message, but because her phone's front camera was still on, and in the corner of the screen, in the reflection of her backseat window, she saw herself sitting there smiling, and she wasn't alone. The reflection wasn't gone. It was free. Jenna gripped the steering wheel, Knuckles' white eyes locked on the rear-view mirror. Her reflection, or something wearing her face, stared back with a knowing grin. She whipped her head. Around nothing, the back seat was empty. But when she looked in the mirror again, there it was. Her, sitting casually behind her, smirking, like it had all the time in the world. She shoved the gear into reverse, the tires kicking up gravel as she sped away from the hospital lot. Her mind screamed, her pulse thundered, but her thoughts narrowed to one desperate idea. Find Emily's mother, Mrs. Hale, the only person Emily had trusted completely. If anyone knew what Emily had been into before the crash, it was her. Jenna hadn't spoken to her since the funeral. She hadn't had the courage. Now, she didn't have a choice. The old house sat quietly at the edge of town, half the blinds drawn, porch light flickering in the afternoon gloom. Jenna parked and climbed out, her eyes scanning every reflection, the car window, the side mirror, her phone screen. Nothing but that. Didn't mean it wasn't watching. Mrs. Hale answered the door slowly, her eyes red, face thinner than Jenna remembered. Grief had carved lines across her once kind expression. "Jenna," she said flatly. "I didn't expect I need your help," Jenna blurted, stepping forward. "It's about Emily. I think she was trying to stop something real." Mrs. Hale didn't move, didn't blink. Then, slowly, she stepped aside. The inside of the house smelled like dried lavender and dust. Dozens of framed photos of Emily lined the walls. One caught Jenna's eye, a picture of the two of them at 15, arms slung around each other, laughing like the world was still simple. Mrs. Hale sat across from her, her hands trembling slightly as she poured tea. "She told me you wouldn't believe her," she said softly. Jenna looked up. She said, "If something ever happened to her, you'd think she was crazy. That everyone would, but not me." "What did she tell you?" Mrs. Hale pulled something from a drawer, an envelope. Sealed, her daughter's name scrawled in sharp handwriting. Across the front. "She left this for you. Said you'd come, eventually." Jenna opened it with shaking fingers. Inside was a single photo, a mirror. Not the one from the cabin. An older one, framed in blackened wood, etched with strange, faded symbols, written on the back. "It doesn't just reflect, it remembers, and it lies." Then, another line, messier, almost frantic. "If she's looking at you, you've already let her in." Jenna dropped the photo. Her hands started to tremble. "What does that mean?" she whispered. But Mrs. Hale's face had gone pale. "You've seen her, haven't you?" she asked. "The one that looks like you?" Jenna nodded, too stunned to speak. Mrs. Hale stood abruptly and went to the hallway. When she returned, she carried a box, old, locked, dusty. Inside, photographs, newspaper clippings, diaries. All connected by one thing, the same mirror, different places, different decades, but always the same ornate glass, and always followed by something horrific. Murders, disappearances, sudden mental breakdowns. People claiming they'd seen versions of themselves trying to take over their lives. "It's called the doppelmirror," Mrs. Hale said. "It's old. No one knows where it came from, but Emily found it online, in a forum that got shut down weeks after she posted." "She didn't go crazy," Jenna whispered. "She was right." Mrs. Hale nodded slowly. She brought it to the cabin to destroy it. But by then, it already had her. On the way back to the cabin, Jenna couldn't stop thinking about what Emily's journal had said. It mimics, it studies, it learns, and now it was loose. Using Jenna's face, her voice, her memories, and maybe replacing others. She picked up her phone and called Dylan, Emily's old boyfriend. He'd dated Emily until just before she started losing sleep. When she told him she saw herself moving in mirrors when she stood still. He hadn't believed her. No one had, except maybe Jenna. Too late. The phone rang 4 times. "Hello." His voice came through, casual, clear. "Dylan, it's Jenna. I need to ask you something. It's important." Pause. "Sure. What's going on? Have you seen anything weird? Like with reflections?" Or the voice on the other end laughed. Not Dylan's laugh. Too high, too hollow. And then it spoke again, but not in his voice. "I've always liked this one. He doesn't ask questions." Jenna dropped the phone, slammed on the brakes, heart pounding. She realized the truth. It was spreading. Jumping mirrors, jumping people. And she had no idea who to trust anymore, not even herself. That night, Jenna sat alone in the cabin, surrounded by broken pieces of the mirror. She placed them in a circle around her and lit the fireplace, just like Emily had done. She held up the photo again, staring into the eyes of the mirror's reflection, her own eyes. But behind them, something else, something watching her, learning her. And then she asked it out loud. "What do you want?" A whisper rose from the shards. to live. She felt it then, deep, like a shiver in her soul. It didn't just mimic, it wanted to replace, to leave her trapped in the mirror, the way it had trapped Emily, or worse, to use her body, her name, her life, while she watched from behind the glass. And the scariest part, she didn't know if it had already happened. She looked into the largest shard. Her reflection blinked. She didn't. The fire crackled, casting long shadows across the cabin walls. Jenna didn't blink, but the woman in the mirror did. She stared at the shard of broken glass in front of her, not just at her reflection, but at it, the thing pretending to be her, learning her, wanting her life. And for the first time she saw something in its eyes, confidence, not rage, not fear, like it already knew it had one. She stood, her heart hammering in her chest. She wasn't going to let this end the way it did for Emily. She'd been too late to save her best friend, but she wouldn't be too late to stop whatever this thing was. Jenna drove through the night, headlights slicing through fog. She called Dylan's number again. No answer. She tried her mom straight to voicemail. She tried herself, her own number. Someone answered. Hello. The voice was perfect, calm, controlled. Her own voice, mimicked flawlessly. I know what you are, Jenna whispered. There was a pause, a smile in the silence. Then it said, I know what you used to be. Click. Jenna flung the phone out the window and screamed. She reached the only place left, the antiques dealer, the one Emily had traced the mirror back to before she died. A man named Viktor Mirov. The shop was buried downtown, a crooked wooden sign that read, Mirov Relics. The windows were boarded, the door chained. A sign read, closed permanently. She didn't care. She kicked the door, once, twice. The third time, it gave way. The inside smelled like mothballs and ash. Dim light flickered above cabinets, stuffed with old dolls, clocks, daggers, and mirrors, everywhere, all covered. All draped in black cloth. She moved deeper, her breath echoing in the silence. Victor, she called out. A cough answered her, dry and rattling from the back. She followed the sound, down a hall that smelled of rot and rust, until she found him, an old man in a leather chair, hunched, eyes cloudy. He looked at her, and something in him recoiled. You're her? Jenna froze. He sat up straighter. No, not quite, not yet. His hands trembled as he pointed to a cabinet. It's choosing you. I want to know what it is, she said. The mirror, the thing inside. Mirov licked dry lips. It's not one thing, it's many pieces of broken people, cursed, trapped, angry. Mirrors are doorways for them. They wait for someone weak enough, grieving, lonely, guilty, to stomach turned. Emily. Double quotes. I think it got Emily, she said. He nodded. It did, but not the way you think. Jenna's heart stopped. What do you mean? Mirov opened a drawer and pulled out a thin file. Inside was a photo. Of Emily, but not the Emily. Jenna remembered, her eyes wrong, too wide, too empty. She visited me once, Mirov said, before she died. Said she thought it got out, but she was wrong. It wasn't out. It was her. Jenna stepped back, horrified. You're saying Emily died the night she touched the mirror? Whatever came back in her skin wasn't her. Jenna staggered, breath caught in her throat. No, it couldn't be true. Emily had talked to her, cried with her. She was scared, but she was real, right? She thought about Emily's funeral, the way her reflection lingered too long in the coffin's glass, the way the mirror had cracked on its own when Jenna leaned over the body. That wasn't mourning. That was something trapped, something trying to get back out. Then how do I stop it? Jenna demanded. Mirov coughed violently, blood spotting his sleeve. You can't kill it, but you can trap it again. Trick it. It doesn't expect you to fight back, it expects you to break. Jenna clenched her jaw. I've already broken, she said. Now I'm putting the pieces to use. She She returned to the cabin at dawn, every mirror covered, except one. She stood in front of it. A tall, unbroken antique Emily had brought there once before, maybe to study the thing, maybe to confront it. Jenna took a breath, then she cut her palm, letting the blood drip into a bowl. She placed it at the foot of the mirror and whispered, "I'm ready." At first, nothing happened. Then, a flicker, a face appeared in the glass. Her face, but smiling, not hers. It leaned forward and spoke. "You always needed someone stronger to tell you what to do. I don't need anyone anymore," Jenna said. The reflection tilted its head. "But you want to be free, don't you? From the grief, the guilt, the memories? I can give you that." Jenna stepped closer. "You want my body?" It grinned. "You're barely using it." She nodded, then whispered, "Come and take it." The surface rippled. Her reflection reached out, fingers long and blackened like ash. Jenna closed her eyes, then shoved the mirror forward. It cracked, splintered, and the thing's scream echoed across the room like a dying animal. But it didn't stop. The glass shattered, and something lunged out, a shadow wearing her skin. Jenna screamed and grabbed the blood-drenched shard she'd hidden beneath the towel. She slashed at the thing's throat. It hissed, retreating. Then she turned the shard on herself and cut her own reflection across the mirror's surface. Glass exploded. The thing howled and vanished. Jenna collapsed, bleeding, gasping. She woke up hours later, sunlight pouring through the cracks in the ceiling. The mirror was gone. No, burned. Only ash remained, and in the reflection of the fireplace screen, she saw only herself. No smile, no mimic, just her scarred, shaking, but alive. Outside the world looked the same. People walked. Cars passed. The wind carried birdsong. But something in her had shifted. She didn't just survive, she fought, and won. Or so she thought, until she turned on the radio in her car and heard her own voice on the local news broadcast. Coming up next, a tragic fire at the home of antiques dealer Viktor Mirov. Authorities say a young woman was seen fleeing the scene. Jenna's blood turned cold. She hadn't told anyone about Mirov. She hadn't seen anyone, unless she hadn't won. The news report kept looping in Jenna's head. A young woman was seen fleeing the scene. She slammed the radio off. The roads ahead blurred through her tears. Viktor Mirov's shop had burned to the ground. She hadn't imagined it. She could still feel the heat, the screams, the way the cursed thing inside the mirror tried to claw its way free. She thought she'd won, thought the thing was gone. But if she was being seen in places she never went, maybe it wasn't gone. Maybe it was her that was being erased. Back in the city, Jenna parked 2 blocks from her old apartment. She hadn't been back in weeks. After Emily's death, the guilt consumed her. She'd disappeared into the woods, trying to bury the memories with distance. But now, she needed answers. And the first one was waiting behind the door she once called home. She hesitated before knocking. It felt insane, knocking on her own door. But she couldn't take the risk. She needed to know who or what was inside. The door opened. Jenna stared at herself, dressed in her favorite hoodie, hair just like hers, voice identical, but the eyes, too still, too perfect, too practiced. The woman smiled. "Hey, didn't expect to see you." Jenna's heart thundered. She forced her voice to stay calm, just passing through. The doppelganger tilted her head, studying Jenna like a specimen under glass. "You look tired," it said. Jenna nodded slowly. "Been through hell." "Oh," the thing said gently, stepping aside. Then, "Come in. You look like you need to rest." Jenna stepped over the threshold. Every instinct screamed run, but she needed to see it. All of it. She needed proof. Inside everything looked the same, down to the mug on the table, the blanket on the couch, the smell of her shampoo in the air. It was her life, perfectly copied. Jenna glanced at the photos on the wall. Her and Emily, her and Dylan, her parents. Then she noticed something. All the photos had been replaced. The people were the same, but in each one, Jenna wasn't smiling. Her face was blank, neutral, wrong. The thing noticed her looking. Memories are such fragile things, it said casually. Sometimes we remember things better than they really were. Jenna turned slowly. What do you want from me? The thing blinked. I already have it. She stepped back. The thing's voice dropped. You think you killed me? You burned. A fragment. A shard. But the real me, the real us, was already here. Us, Jenna echoed. It smiled wider. Oh, Jenna, did you think this mirror only chose you? The room blurred as the floor seemed to tilt. No, there were others, other people, other hosts. Emily, maybe even Victor, and now her. The mirror didn't just steal reflections, it multiplied them. Jenna turned and ran down the hall, through the stairwell, into the street. She didn't look back until she reached her car. No, one was following her. Not yet. She drove to the one place she swore never to return, the hospital where Emily had died. She walked past reception, head down, and took the elevator. To the basement, to the archives. That's where she found it. A security guard half asleep, coffee in hand. She flashed her old volunteer badge. I'm doing a memorial piece on a friend, Emily Sharp. Can I check the visitor logs from the week she was admitted? The guard barely looked up. Sure, room 2, inside the record room. She combed through papers until she found it. Emily Sharp, admitted February 17th. Dead February 22. ND.visitors: Jenna Harper Dillon, Wakefield and no name, listed. Jenna's skin crawled. She flipped to the security footage log. Something caught her eye. The night before Emily died, someone had entered her room at 3:12 a.m. No record of who. Jenna checked the footage. It was grainy, black and white, but clear enough. She watched in silence as someone walked into Emily's room. It was her, Jenna, hair down, pale hoodie.com, but Jenna hadn't visited that night. She was asleep at home, sobbing into Dylan's arms, and then, on screen, she watched herself lean over Emily's bed and smile. Then, a flicker. For a single frame, the face in the footage warped too long, too sharp, then back to her own. Jenna's hand trembled as she closed the file. She couldn't deny it anymore. That thing hadn't just mimicked her, it had been practicing outside. The sun was setting. She sat on the curb, heart hollow. How many people had that thing impersonated? How many lives had it already ruined? And worst of all, how much longer did she have? She checked her reflection in the glass of a parked car. Still her, but for how long? Her phone rang. A private number. She answered, expecting static. Instead, did you enjoy the footage? Jenna's voice, but not from her mouth. I'm going to expose you, she whispered. The thing on the phone chuckled. You can't even expose yourself. People see me, and they like me more. I'm nicer, stronger, funnier, more confident. She swallowed hard. It was right. People had loved her after Emily died, but it hadn't been her. It was the reflection, the parasite. You're just a mask, Jenna said. And you, it replied. You're just the crack in the glass I crawled through. The line went dead. Jenna sat there, breathing in silence. Then she stood, walked to her car, and started driving. Not away this time, but toward something. She knew where the mirror had come from. Victor mentioned it once in passing. A coastal town, a warehouse fire, a collection that was auctioned off and scattered across the country. She could run forever, or she could burn the whole thing down. The coastal town of Perro Bay had a population of just under 3,000, most of them fishermen, retirees, or people hiding from something. It was the kind of place that existed in the gaps between phone signals. Too quiet for news crews, too faded for maps, and it was where the mirror had come from. Victor had mentioned it once, muttering about the warehouse and the original. Jenna didn't know what he meant then, but now, after everything, after Emily's death, the fire, and the thing wearing her face, she was ready to find out. She arrived at dusk. The air smelled like rust and salt. Buildings were crumbling along the shore, their windows boarded or shattered. Dogs barked in the distance. No tourists, no police, just ghosts in the shape of silence. She parked in front of a building with the faded words Bay Estate Storage painted across a leaning sign. It wasn't listed online, no photos, no reviews, but the doors were unlocked. Jenna pushed inside, flashlight in hand. The air was thick with dust and something else, something oily, like burned hair. She clicked, her light on. Rows of crates stretched into darkness. Some had numbers, others were unmarked. All of them gave off the same sick feeling she remembered from Victor's shop. She walked carefully, reading the tags. #3129 ornate music box. Acquired 1974. Locked. Number 4010, painted ventriloquist dummy. One missing eye. #4922. Silver framed wall mirror. Claimed origin. Prague. Her breath caught. #for922. The mirror. The crate was open, empty only. A torn piece of black velvet inside. The cloth that once covered the glass. But something was scratched into the bottom of the crate. Reflections are born, not made. Jenna backed away. She wasn't alone. A sound, soft, dragging footsteps, but wrong, too slow, like something pretending to walk. She swung the flashlight toward the sound. Nothing, just crates. Then, behind her, you came back. She spun, ready to scream. A man stood there. Early 70s, thin, wild gray hair, eyes bright, almost feverish. He wore a janitor's uniform. Name tag read, Milo. I'm looking for Jenna, began. He held up a hand. I know what you're looking for. She froze. Everyone who finds their way here is either lost, Milo said, or already too late. Jenna stared at him, unsure if he was friend or foe. I need to know what it is, she said. That mirror, what came out of it? Milo tilted his head. You touched it, didn't you? She hesitated. I saw something in it. Something that looked like me. Then my best friend died. Then I watched a version of myself smiling over her body. And now I don't know if I'm even real anymore. Milo nodded slowly. You are, he said. That's why it's after you. He led her through the back of the warehouse, past locked doors and cabinets full of strange things, photographs with missing people, broken clocks that still ticked backward, a pair of shoes filled with dried blood. This place was shut down in the 90s, Milo said. The people who ran it, collectors, they called themselves, started bringing in items they didn't understand, thought they could study them, control them, use them. He stopped at a steel door. But some things use you. Inside was a small room, just a chair, a camera mounted in the corner, and a second mirror, identical frame, same velvet cloth, now pulled halfway down, but this one still had its glass intact. Jenna stepped closer, and the mirror flickered. Not her reflection, not exactly it was her, but hair a little darker, skin a little smoother. Her eyes sparkled, confident and poised. A version of Jenna that had never been broken, that had never watched her friend die, that had never been human. Jenna stepped back. Why are there two? She whispered. Milo's voice was a whisper. That's the original. Then the one Victor had. A shard. It splintered decades ago. Pieces ended up in shops, homes, even hospitals. Like seeds. Jenna's mouth went dry. And every shard creates a version. Milo nodded. Not all at once. Some lie dormant for years. But when the right person looks in, the right pain, the right weakness, it feeds. She gripped the door frame, and then it replaces them. No, Milo said gently. It copies them, keeps the original alive, but barely, just enough to keep learning. She thought of all the times she felt hollow lately, tired, disconnected, and the way people smiled more at her. Doppelganger. Why? She asked. What does it want? Milo's voice dropped. To be real. Silence stretched between them. Jenna finally said, How do I stop it? Milo looked away. I don't know, but you work here. I'm the janitor. I clean up after them. I don't fight them. Then let me fight it. He studied her for a long moment. Then, slowly, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, triangular shard of black glass. The edge shimmered faintly in the light. This was the core, he said. The first shard that broke off. If you find the one wearing your face and force this into it, it will reveal its true form. No more hiding. Jenna took it carefully. It was ice cold, like it had never been touched by life. If I don't come back, she asked, then it wears you forever, Milo said, and no one will ever know. She nodded, slipped the shard into her jacket, and left. That night, Jenna returned to the city, to her apartment. Only it wasn't hers anymore. The lights were on. Music played softly, the sound of humming her voice, but not quite. She stood across the street and stared at the window, at the silhouette, moving inside. Then she pulled out the shard. Its edge caught the streetlight, and for the first time since this nightmare began, Jenna smiled. Jenna stood across the street, the city humming around her, like it hadn't changed, like her world hadn't come unhinged. But the figure inside her apartment, the one wearing her face, moved like it owned her life. It wasn't just pretending anymore. It was her now. She checked the shard Milo gave her, still hidden in her jacket's inside pocket. Its surface pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Her own breath misted in the cold air. She crossed the street. The elevator was broken, so she took the stairs. Each step creaked louder than the last. Her palms were slick with sweat, her mind playing. Images of Emily dead, betrayed, smiling in her final breath. At the door, Jenna didn't knock. She used her key. It still worked. Inside, the apartment was warm, cozy, too cozy. Scented candles flickered on every shelf. Her favorite playlist echoed softly from a speaker. The books on the table were arranged by color, something Jenna never did. The mug on the counter said "World's Best Friend," a sick joke. And then the doppelganger walked out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around her head. "Oh," it said, startled, then smiled. "You're early." Jenna froze. She hadn't heard that voice since Emily's funeral. Even then, it had pretended grief, played the role of the grieving best friend. But now it looked tired of pretending. "What are you doing here?" Jenna asked, trying to stay calm. "I live here," it said. "You know that." Jenna's fists tightened. "No, I live here." The thing tilted its head, still smiling. "Then why do your friends prefer me?" A pause. "They say I listen better. I show up on time. I don't fall apart every 3 seconds. You should have seen your mother. She cried in my arms. Told me she'd never been closer to you." Jenna's stomach turned. "I'm real," she whispered. The smile dropped. "Are you?" Jenna reached into her jacket. The shard pulsed. Her reflections. Eyes flicked down. Its smile returned wider this time. "Going to stab me with that? What happens if you're wrong?" "I'm not." "No." "Then do it. Right now." Jenna took a step forward, holding the shard like a knife. But something inside her hesitated. Not fear, not weakness, not recognition. This thing wasn't just wearing her face. It knew her too well. Knew the guilt, knew the self-doubt, knew the part of her that wished someone else would take over. And it was using it. "You felt it, didn't you?" it said softly. "The relief, when I started living your life, when you finally rested, when the pain wasn't yours anymore." Jenna's hands trembled. The shard slipped, just for a second, and that was enough. The thing lunged. They crashed into the wall. Jenna slammed an elbow into its stomach, but it didn't grunt, it laughed, like the pain wasn't pain, like it had never been human. She shoved it off, gasping. It stood unfazed. Its eyes gleamed. "You think you're the only one who suffered?" it asked. "I woke up in a mirror, alone, cold, watching you ruin everything. I cleaned up your mess." Jenna backed toward the kitchen, drawer, knives, anything, but the thing moved first too fast. It grabbed her wrist, and suddenly, Jenna was seeing through its eyes, not metaphorically, literally. Her vision blurred, doubled. She saw herself fragged. Pale, desperate hand also saw the apartment, glowing, beautiful, hers. Then, she saw the mirror, not in the apartment, not in Harrow Bay, not even on this side of the world. A place of black marble, endless ceilings, and glass floors. Other selves, pacing behind shimmering walls, some screaming, others silent, trapped. It was a prison, and Jenna realized this wasn't the only copy. There were hundreds, maybe thousands, all pretending, all perfect, feeding off the broken, the vulnerable, the real. Jenna jerked free, falling backward into the counter. She reached into her jacket again, but the shard wasn't there. The thing held it now, between two fingers. It examined it, admired it. "Victor tried this too," it said. "He died screaming." It raised the shard, and just as it lunged and it did something it didn't expect. She ran straight for the hallway mirror. She didn't know why. Instinct, desperation, or something calling her. She dove at the glass, and instead of shattering, she passed through. The world on the other side was silent, monochrome, frozen. She stood in a corridor made of mirrors, her reflection in every direction, but none of them moved like her. Each stood still, posed like mannequins. Some smiled, some wept, others clawed at the glass. And in the center of the corridor stood Emily, not the one from her world, but close, eyes glassy, movements stiff. "Emily," Jenna whispered. The figure turned slowly and smiled. "You're late," it said. Suddenly, Jenna was surrounded. Mirrors began to shimmer. The other selves stepped out, 10.20. All her, each one slightly off, more beautiful, more confident, more cruel. They circled her like wolves. One stepped forward, the one from her apartment. "You can't win, Jenna," it said. "We're already better." Jenna looked at them, perfect shadows of herself. Versions that never cried, never broke, never lost a friend to fire. But none of them were real. "You don't understand something," Jenna said, her voice steady now. They paused. "What?" the reflection sneered. Jenna looked at the Emily copy. "She was my friend. Mine. And I'll burn every version of myself before I let you wear her memory." She reached for the floor. Somehow, the shard had followed. She didn't question it. She stabbed the mirror behind her. The corridor screamed. Glass exploded. Each fake version of her cracked, screamed, collapsed, except one. The apartment reflection, still standing, still, smiling, but bleeding now from its eyes. "You'll never be enough," it said. Jenna stepped forward and hugged it tight. "You're right," she whispered, "but at least I'm real." Then she pushed it into the shattered mirror behind them, and everything went white. Jenna woke up on her apartment floor, alone, the mirror shattered, candles out, the air still. She stood up, shaking, looked in the bathroom mirror, only one reflection. Now, her tired, broken, but whole. For the first time in a long time, Jenna didn't look away. It had been 48 hours since Jenna returned from the mirror. World, 48 hours of silence. The candles in the apartment hadn't lit themselves again. The mirrors stayed cracked. Her reflection, only one, moved exactly as she did. No delays. No smiles that didn't match her mouth. No more double life. But peace didn't return with her. not entirely. Something else had crossed back. 2. She felt it in the way her lights flickered, in the fact that her hallway smelled faintly of sulfur, and in the voice messages piling up from unknown numbers. She isn't the only one. You burned a bridge, but you lit a path. They know your name now, and the worst one, just for words. We were watching, Jenna. She went to Milo first, the boy who gave her the shard, the one who knew mirrors weren't safe, but his apartment was abandoned. The locks busted in, books ripped apart, and on the wall drawn in black ash was a symbol, a circle, a line down the center, and an eye in the middle. It stared at her, and beneath it, someone had written, "He showed you the door. Now they want you to open it." Jenna didn't sleep that night. Not that she really had since Emily died. But now it was worse. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt them, the reflections, or what was left of them. Flickers behind her eyelids, fingers brushing her shoulders. Not to hurt, not yet. Just to remind her, she wasn't alone, not ever again. By morning, she knew she had to go back. Not to the mirror world, not yet, but to the place where all of this started. Emily's house, her real best friend, the one she watched burn. The fire department had said the blaze started in the walls, an electrical fault. But Jenna always remembered the mirror in Emily's attic, huge, old, Victorian, a gift from her grandmother. The fire had never touched it, even when everything else burned. That mirror had stood untouched. Jenna parked outside, the boarded-up home, heart THUDDING. The wind blew cold against her neck. She climbed through the side window. Inside, the air was heavy, charred, but quiet, like a church where something terrible had happened. She made her way up the crumbling stairs, past scorched portraits, broken beams to the attic door. Still intact, still closed. She opened it slowly. The room smelled of old wood and dust, and there it was, the mirror, tall, ornate, standing in the same spot as before. Its surface gleamed, though no light hit it, and as she stepped forward, her stomach dropped, because it wasn't her reflection staring back. It was Emily's, but not the Emily from her world, not the twisted, hollow thing she'd seen in the corridor. This one looked alive. She was wearing the sweater Jenna had bought her for her birthday, her hair tied in the same loose bun she always wore when they studied together. She looked older, somehow tired but real. Jenna reached out. "Emily." The reflection blinked, then stepped forward. "Jenna," it said. "You finally came." Jenna froze. "Is it really you?" A pause. "I'm not sure anymore," Emily said. "They've taken so much. But I remember you. I remember us." Tears stung Jenna's eyes. She stepped closer. "They told me you died in the fire." Emily shook her head slowly. "They let you believe that. I tried to reach you, but only your reflection heard me." "Why you?" Jenna whispered. "Why did they take you?" Another pause. Then Emily said the words that shattered everything. "Because I was never the first." Jenna backed away. "What are you talking about?" Emily's eyes filled with sadness. "You were. You always were. That night, in the storm, you were meant to die. No, they reached out, chose you, but I broke the rule. I pulled you back, and in doing so, I took your place." Jenna's legs buckled. Her knees hit the attic floor. Emily kept speaking, voice softer now. "They've been angry ever since. They don't like when humans rewrite the story. They watch us, through glass, through reflections, waiting for the ones who cheat death, who interrupt their plans." Jenna's voice cracked. "So you're saying I survived because of you? Yes? And you've been there trapped ever since?" Emily nodded. "But now, Jenna, you have something they've never seen before." Jenna's eyes narrowed. "What? You fought back? You destroyed one of them. You tore a rift in their corridor. And now, they're afraid. Afraid of me." Emily leaned closer. "No, not just you." She pointed behind Jenna. Jenna turned. The attic was empty, but in the mirror reflected, perfectly stood a tall figure in a black cloak. No face, just the shimmer of countless eyes beneath its hood. It raised a hand. Jenna spun around, but no one was there, just dust. When she turned back, Emily was gone. The mirror cracked, a thin line down the center, and then Jenna heard the whisper, not from the mirror, not from the attic, from inside her own head. You opened the door. Now you'll lead the others through. Jenna fled the house, but something followed. Her own reflection flickered in windows as she passed them. It blinked before she did, smiled when she didn't, moved just a fraction behind every mirror she passed, cracked slightly. Every screen, glitched. Every puddle, rippled. She got in her car, drove, but the voice followed. She was never supposed to save you. Balance must be restored. You'll bring them back. Jenna didn't know what them meant, but she knew now. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was war, and she was the key. Jenna didn't remember falling asleep, but when she opened her eyes, she wasn't in her bed, her car, or even a room with walls. She was floating in darkness. No floor, no ceiling, just glass, mirrors above, below, and on every side. Infinity reflections of her drifting through space, alone, but never alone. And across from her a door, silver old, with a small, cracked mirror embedded in its center. She didn't question how she got there anymore. She knew this was the place they had dragged her toward since the first moment. She looked too long at her own face. This was where the mirror people waited, and this time, Jenna wasn't going to run. The moment she touched the door, it screamed, not with sound but with memories. 1,000 thoughts rushed into her head, faces of people who vanished without explanation, children who talked to mirrors until they were found dead, mothers who swore their sons came back. Wrong. Every story she ever heard about mirrors suddenly made sense. They weren't reflections, they were invitations. The door opened, and Jenna stepped into a throne room of glass, towering columns, shattered floors. Everything reflected endlessly, and at the center it waited, the creature from the attic mirror, taller than human, its face made of shifting shards, constantly changing, sometimes her face, sometimes Emily's, sometimes one's she didn't recognize. Its body rippled like black oil, and where it stood, the glass beneath it melted slightly, like reality warped around its presence. You have returned, it whispered. Its voice was every voice she'd ever heard, in a mirror, soft, mocking, familiar. I came to finish this, Jenna said. Its head tilted. You should have died that night, child. I didn't. Emily saved me. She disrupted balance. And so we took her. We let you live. But you opened the corridor. You entered our world. No, Jenna said firmly. You pulled me in. And now, the creature said, you will stay. It lunged. Jenna screamed, expecting pain, but none came. Instead, Emily appeared in front of her. Not as a ghost, not twisted, but real, solid, glowing faintly with silver light. She grabbed the creature by the face and pushed it backward. You won't take her again. Jenna's heart raced. Emily, I broke the rules once, Emily said, not taking her eyes off the creature. Now I'm breaking them again. But how? How are you? Because you remembered me. You chose to come back for me. And in doing so, you made your own reflection. One they can't control. Jenna looked down. Her reflection shimmered under her feet. Not a copy, but a glowing outline of herself. Made of light, not glass. She wasn't just a survivor now. She was a mirror breaker. The creature screamed and shattered into dozens of sharp-edged versions of itself. Each piece of its face tried to reform, whispering different things. She'll betray you again. She'll let you burn. You're nothing without us. Emily stepped forward. Don't listen. It only knows fear now. Jenna clenched her fists. Her reflection pulsed beneath her feet. "I'm not afraid of the truth anymore," she said. She took a deep breath, and then she ran straight at the creature. The moment she collided with it, the room exploded in light. Glass shattered. The world twisted, and for a moment, she felt like she was everywhere, every mirror in the world, every reflection, every lie whispered to a child in the dark. And then silence. When Jenna woke up, she was lying in the middle of her living room. The apartment was warm, quiet, normal. No candles, no cracks, just peace. She ran to her mirror. No crack, no shimmer, just her, only her. It had been 6 months since then. Jenna moved away from the city, deleted every mirror from her home, lives in a cabin now, out in the woods. The nightmares stopped, mostly, but every now and then, when it rains, she thinks she sees Emily standing behind her in the reflection of a window, smiling. Free. She started writing everything down, all of it. The corridor, the fire, the thing in the mirror, what it said, what it feared. She sends it anonymously. 2 forums, horror blogs, Reddit threads. They call it fiction, but a few people just a few message back. They say, "This happened to me too." They say, "I thought I was crazy." They say, "Thank you." Jenna doesn't reply. She just adds another log to her fireplace, pours a cup of tea, and watches the flames. Because she knows now some truths were never meant to stay hidden behind glass. Sometimes, surviving doesn't mean escaping the darkness. It means learning how to light your own fire and never let it go out. The end.